Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad Porto. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus Green. Marcus, how the heck are you?
Doing okay. We back. Some interesting topics tonight.
Before we do, there are some notes that we should make mention. If you're in the path of any of these hurricanes, don't be. I know that's an easier thing said than done, but these things are legit, too legit, and we don't want you to quit on breathing. We want you to stick around. So
Yeah.
be careful, be safe, be smart. Pete Rose, WWE Hall of Famer, and a man that I constantly waffle on whether or not he should be a Hall of Famer in baseball. Because on one hand, best hitter maybe of all time. On the other hand, the dude did bet on games. So, like, it's not unfair. So, I'm torn. Truly, truly, I'm torn. But he did pass away. I think it was 82, which really put his stuff with Kane in context because like he was in his late 50s doing all that. Um, so it's a semi, not semi. It is a sad day. Um, so respect the legends, right?
Yeah,
His
well,
stuff with Kane was great, and his No Mercy spot where he was at doing Halloween. I don't know. Did you ever see that commercial?
I think a couple times.
Yeah, it was the 2002 No Mercy commercial, and it was like there he was at home, but it was like an Adams Family style home, and everyone kept knocking on his door, and he kept like sending them out like go away, rah. And then finally he opens the door, and it's Kane, and Kane just goes hi Pete, and Pete goes as the commercial cuts to a close.
Yeah, that I mean that kicks off a topic we wouldn't even bring we hadn't even prep for the show, but that's another thing they used to do besides have. I know this has been a sticking point for both of us, specifically you, specifically themed pay-per-views,
Mm-hmm. I miss
particularly with the
those.
staging. Yeah, specifically
Yes.
with the staging. WWE used to do real good about having like having the commercials with their pay-per-views. Like you remember the was it the Survivor Series one years ago they did with like, but or was it WrestleMania when they had the guys dressed up as like old school gangsters?
I think that was for WrestleMania in Chicago.
Yeah, one of them things. But they used to have like the competitors dress up and do like themed commercials for these shows. And I think they used to be a big adage. But yeah, they do used to do stuff like that all the time. Maybe they don't feel like they need it anymore because if we, when everything's sponsored by Prime and Sparking Zero and whatever else they do for, Latino themed shows, which is feel like they don't need to do it.
Yeah, I would love to see them go back to themed holiday pay per views. I think that would be dope. The other thing I want to point out is a lot of WWE women are, and not in the way I'm sure people like Marcus and myself would prefer, are showing their whole asses today. One of the women, who I don't even know who she is, basically tweeted out that the Hurricanes are a Democratic ploy to destroy the election. Hurricane Helms, Gregory Helms, Shane Helms, whatever you want to call him, tweeted out something that I've been thinking about all day. So the same people that think humans have no effect on climate change now believe that humans can control the weather. And Gigi Dolan chimed in to say, why not both? Now, maybe she's being facetious, maybe she's being sincere, but like, Sami Zayn couldn't talk about Syria without Triple H telling him to take down his posts. I think it's time that we admit that maybe the WWE controlling wrestlers' social media accounts was the way to go. Because these people are fucking too stupid to really breathe at this point. I'm very certain that there's going to be a calamity on wrestling Twitter from people just quote unquote speaking the truth. So
Yeah, it's the classic thing, man. But to have people think you're stupid,
And open your mouth and prove them wrong.
remove all doubt. Yeah, it's it sucks too coming from because I know the Taylor Green chick do it, but that's she got to do something stupid every month. It feels like every couple months.
Is that who
But
the
when
first
you
one was? Was Taylor Green?
yeah, Marjorie Taylor Green was talking about some
Oh,
yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're talking about some Democrats control the weather, and this is a ploy to disrupt the Republican crap.
I thought we were
But
talking
when
about the
the
NXT wrestler. I'm like, who the fuck is Taylor Green?
no, oh no, no, I'm pretty sure they got somebody with that name. They got
Right?
so many people down there. They probably incoming. They probably got somebody incoming. But yeah, that's bad. And like you said, there's a line with that control because obviously we advocated years back when they were trying to control people's gaming and how they, because I guess they wanted in on that,
Mm-hmm.
in on the revenue for that, but that was the line for that. But yeah, some of these people, like I remember I think it's like wanted everybody to have a social media account, and Ambrose just, he did enough to create an account, tweet, they made me get this, and he never tweeted again. So many
Oh
people
God,
need to
that's
do that.
right. On a little bit of lighter news, WWE has a few episodes or a few dark matches from Chris Canyon's run on with the company when he returned to his old Mortis character. The Mortis character was fine. In 1997, it popped against the black and white of the NWO sphere that was going on. But in 2002, 2003, it really didn't have the same emphasis. But a lot of people were happy about it. One, because WWE only makes wrestling action figures based off of guys who have actually been on TV or have had footage released. So now that Mortis has popped up, there's a lot of people who believe that they'll finally get a Mortis action figure. And I think that's for those dudes. Like, listen, I got some micro brawlers I like to collect. So like, I'm not shaming anyone. Those that want those kinds of action figures, I think that's a good day for them. Plus, Chris Canyon really was a great innovator. He wasn't someone that I would say was a great personality in wrestling. He definitely had limitations, but I will say that as a wrestler, he was phenomenal, and it's great that people are excited about possibly getting this very unique figure for him. Should it come to pass. That being said, I think we can jump right into the bad blood of it all. This was their October offering, their five match affair that lasts. They did the math. It's like a 3 hour show, and less than half of it was wrestling. So if you broke it down to a pie chart, most of it was wrestling. But apparently, the second biggest part was ads. And I'm just sitting there shaking my head like, why are wrestling fans this stupid? And honestly, Marcus, it's not a rhetorical question. Why are wrestling fans stupid that they think that this is good? We're getting less action, less story, less of the things we like, and we're okay with it. I'm not. I think this was a shitty show. In fact, I don't think I've seen a good show under Triple H.
But Chad, less time. I mean, less matches, more time means every time we get a match, it's gonna feel like cinema.
Oh god, there's so much stupid shit to talk about with that word. First of all, pro wrestling's not cinema. It's not. It's not fucking cinema. It's pro wrestling. If you want to watch a movie, go to the fucking movie theater. If you want to watch football, go watch fucking football. If you want to watch pro wrestling, don't be one of these cucks that thinks it's okay to get 5 matches. Oh, but I'm not really paying for it. I'm only paying for Peacock. You mean the $13.99 app you pay for? You're chill with getting 5 matches for $13 a month because God knows you're not watching anything else on the app. Because outside of the WWE, what do you got? Modern Family? I don't think most wrestling fans watch Modern Family. I do. It's a great show. I don't think they're watching serial murder mysteries or throwback episodes of Coach. So most people who own Peacock own it because of the WWE, and I'm gonna be telling them myself that's the only reason I have Peacock. And I'm sure that's most wrestling fans. And that's exactly why NBC bought the rights to the WWE library. So that they could have that fan base. They're not stupid, they know what they're doing. So you're paying $13 for 5 matches, most of which aren't good enough to be on pay-per-view in the first place. And I'm supposed to be like, oh, cinema. And it's gotten so bad where now cinema is the catalyst behind feuds. And WWE fans are the stupidest people. Just the stupidest people. Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes had a blow-off at the end of Bad Blood. I think it was after the show, or it was Monday night. I don't remember. I thought it was Sunday night. I could be wrong. Or I think it was Saturday night into Sunday, right? Wasn't that how it happened?
Yeah.
So it was after Bad Blood. Kevin Owens jumps Cody Rhodes and turns heel. And they don't show it on television. They don't show it at the pay-per-view. They don't show it on Raw. Instead, they release it on social media. And it's a clip of Kevin Owens punching Cody and beating him up. And I remember two dorks. They have to be plants by the WWE. One was like, I can't believe they're doing this. They were so lucky. Oh my God, thank goodness for those fans who were recording. Otherwise, we never would have seen this cinematic drama. And the other one's like, this is the stuff I love. Not pro wrestling punches. Just a street fight. Kevin Owens was really laying into Cody. There was no pulled punches here. And the very first punch is a pulled punch. And on the other guy, someone pointed out this was obviously a WWE plant that was recording it. That's why it's the perfect angle. And I'm just sitting here going, this is a television show. Could you imagine watching The Flash, but not knowing how Eobard Thawne came back, and having to watch Tout to figure out how? That'd be the stupidest fucking thing in the world. But because WWE fans only ever want Triple H to shove his schnoz up their dingleberry holes, they don't care what's happening, and they will literally ingest what they're given and say, thank you, sir, may I have some more? Case in point, we'll get to it here in a second. The CM Punk Drew McIntyre Hell in a Cell match had a few pretty nasty spots that hurt Drew pretty good. And everyone was raving about it. It's so good. Oh, we love it. Same fan base though was like, I can't believe Darby Allin would throw a steel chair at someone's head. Don't you know how dangerous that is? Don't you know how dangerous it is to shove the back of your head into a fucking steel staircase? Like, the fuck we doing here? Like, you want to be mad? That's cool. Be mad, but be consistent. That's all I ask. I'm not asking you to not to collect your fucking pearls over here. Yeah. All I'm asking is that if you do it, be consistent. That's it. That's all I'm doing. I be consistent. WWE fans don't seem to be able to. So
it's willful ignorance, elective stupidity, if you will. Like the whole thing. If that was so off the cuff, what happened between Cody and Kevin in a secluded space that conveniently a few random fans had the perfect vantage point to get the whole of, security would have never showed up. Mm-hmm. And they certainly wouldn't have showed up running from two different angles. Mm-hmm. Like, stop.
Don't collaborate, but definitely listen.
Yeah, I mean, the ass whooping he took from The Rock felt more real than that. Like, and then that was clearly Rock felt like he summoned his own personal camera crew on top of the WWE people. So, like, it just stopped. And then the whole thing with the Allen versus Drew thing, that's just clear favoritism, because there's no time that you could watch Darby even once and not know that the man is clearly living out his own personal season of jackass whenever he wrestles. Well, screw that. His life is a continuous episode of Jackass.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what they're talking about. Again, it's favoritism. When people damn near get killed in WWE cinema, in AEW is idiocy. So yeah.
Yeah, it's tribalism. And listen, I'm sure AEW fans can be just as awful. But can you both fucking stop it? Just stop it. That's all I'm asking for.
You're both on the wrong side of the river, goddamn.
They really are both on the wrong side of the fucking river.
Oh,
God bless the Weather Channel. They're really in their element right now with all this stuff.
yeah, they ain't really got no choice. Um,
Well, Marcus, it's great cinema.
speaking of being cinematic, how about that match featuring a shark cage?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that if you're looking at the WB storylines objectively, most of them are shit. By the way, we do have some minor breaking news. Daniel Garcia has re-signed with AEW, so there goes that conversation for fetishists. So let's get the three non-stories out of the way, right? Nia Jax defeated Bailey. Nia Jax is awful. Uncoordinated, untalented, unathletic. I think she has things on Triple H that Triple H doesn't want being leaked to the public, and that's why she's getting the run she's getting. That's the only explanation I can come up with that's realistic.
Oh man.
I know you're a big Damian Priest fan, but I felt like the Priest Balor match kind of went the same way as all the other matches. Now, and here's something that I think may shock a few people. I think that's partly because of the fact that Balor's like 44 and has put his body through all sorts of trauma. He's 43. He'll be 44 next year. I don't think Balor's as good as he once was, truthfully. Truthfully. Um, I think he's lost a few steps, and I think he knows it. I think that's why he's in a tag team right now. And I don't think he can go like he used to. I mean, think about it. It was 8 years ago that he won the Universal title, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm not at all surprised that this is a thought that I've been having. That this idea that he's just not as good as he once was, and it's part of the reason why I think the match with um, Damian Priest didn't land for me. But I do want to hear what you think, because you're a big Priest guy. Did you like the Priest Balor match, or did you think that maybe it's been part of the issue?
It's cool, but to your point, and they even pointed this out on commentary, Balor really has not been the same since he lost that Universal title the way that he did. What he said 8 years ago. Um, Came up on main roster with all the momentum, but then ran into that, never fully recovered, and kind of basically kept derailing until they sent him back to NXT. It felt like he recovered some of that old swag that he had, turned up the aggression level, and then came back and just it didn't carry over for whatever final reason. Now it's I don't know, just something, just an edge he don't have. I don't know, it's because he need to like cut bait to get back to being himself, even without the demon of it all, because they ran that into the ground. Or like you said, he's older now. He's lost some stuff. He's just not necessarily on that gear anymore. So, but this could have main evented Raw. Didn't feel like a pay-per-view worthy thing. I get that's how I felt like it was built up, but by the time you got done with it, like you said, it kind of felt like a lot of Damien's other matches. I feel like Damien has grown. Um, did a lot of growing during that time as champ because, like I said, he kind of felt like an afterthought with everything else that was going on. And truthfully, this is one of those instances where I feel like he's teetering on whether he's going to stay in the mid card or potentially be vying to be consistently put in the main event. But I feel like he needs opponents because the best match that he had during his reign was the Gunther match, and that's when he obviously lost the title. So, but unless they can continuously give him opponents like that that can help him elevate his game, him running into guys like Balor and God knows whoever else they get for the Judgment Day is not gonna do him no good. So,
No, I don't think so either. And I think to kind of further harp on WWE fans being a problem, I think had they been able to switch to the Street Trash name that they wanted to use as a stable, I think they would be in a little bit better shape as a group now, post Rhea Ripley
and Damien,
Damien's split. But that fans thought they were being helpful, and they hindered the stable that they apparently wanted to save. So, you know, that's cool. The other one was, of course, Rhea versus Liv. Liv's not good, right? Like, I'm not the only one who thinks that, right? I can't be, right? Someone agree with me. Mark
I've definitely, I've, de- I've definitely seen that sentiment, and I get it. But I think it's also them comparing her and that when you're going against Rhea, that's a different tier. I do think she does far better than most things she does. She's certainly to me improved a lot. Because she's not somebody that ever tries to match energy when she faces somebody like Rhea. She very much knows how to cater her offense at any given time to her opponent. So she knows how to play that role well, and she also does a lot of great stuff with character that I think a lot of other people just never really either care or just can't get off into. Um, which is why they have her playing a lot of these situations that they have her in. As far as the match, because the match was dumb. They had this like ref camera. I don't know if you saw that they
Mm-hmm.
had the ref have, which didn't they try to do something like that in the X division with in TNA? Like
Yeah,
the
they
ref,
tried to have
ref.
the triple threat X Division matches, and all of them were, uh, but all of them were going to be with a referee who had a camera on top of his head.
Yeah,
It
that's when
was
they came up
not
with that
good.
glorious idea. All the X division matches are triple threats. Wonderful. Trash.
Yeah,
Um,
it wasn't great.
yeah, like the match was supposed to exclude Dominic, but he consistently played the main factor. Shout out to him because that's dropping down from that shark cage like that couldn't have been fun. Um, yeah, but it came off dumb. Rhea consist constantly playing with her food, thinking she's just a shoe in to get the title back. The match she had at SummerSlam with Liv, she almost got disqualified, and then here she basically cost herself the match because she was paying more attention to Dom than Liv, and then we got the return of Raquel, who um, it was cool to see just because everything she went through, but that was also felt like it was botched. She ran in at an awkward time, and then got Liv disqualified, and then put her on top of Rhea to get the pin when that was clearly not a thing after the DQ. So that whole situation was sloppy, and I don't know if this is doing either one of them any favors now. It felt like they was milking this because obviously I felt like they didn't have anybody for Rhea to really face after Liv. Now they got Raquel back, but they basically got her as some BS muscle. So I don't know if they're gonna stretch this to Mania or what, but this is kind of how it's gonna be for the time being. And I guess we're gonna have Liv versus Jax at Crown Jewel, I guess.
Which we won't be covering. One of the things that I think, and somebody pointed this out on Twitter, and he got clowned for it, but I think there's some truth to it. Is that WWE is really kind of staring into the idea of promoting their most attractive people to the gooners in the world. And I saw that, I'm like, you know, with the way these fandoms gravitate to certain people solely based off of how they look, I can't say they're wrong. And I think Liv is a byproduct of that. If she was more in lines of, say, Sarah Logan, she wouldn't have the fan base that she has or the job she has. Sarah Logan's a hell of a hand. She's crazy, but she's a hell of a hand. I don't think you can say the same thing about Liv Morgan, and I think she has that kind of what's that word people like to use? That privilege, the attraction privilege, if you will, where she doesn't have to try or be as good as others in that fact because she looks the way she does, and because WWE is such a mainstream property, they attract people who only care about looks. And this isn't a new thing. Sable, 1999. She could not speak. She could not wrestle. She had the charisma of a dying mouse in a mousetrap. Yet people flocked to her because she was good looking. And
Yeah.
we can even cut it a different way. You can look at Goldberg. Not a great wrestler. Love me Goldberg. But he worked because he looked like a wrecking ball in human form. The way he smashed through people, the way they booked him. It didn't
He was
matter that his
great.
promos wasn't great. It didn't matter that his
Yeah.
matches weren't great. He was an attraction. What he did was interesting.
Great at
It,
selling badassery. Yeah.
yeah. If it wasn't good, it was at least interesting. And what I will say about Liv Morgan, though, not a great worker. 98% of the reason to like her, aside from her looks, like the if she wasn't attractive, Liv Morgan would have this going for her, and it's that she's charismatic. That I can't take away from her. That I won't even try to take away from her. She is a hell of an actress. She has a lot of emotions that can be clearly and cleanly read off of a moment. You know, there is no second guessing or trying to figure out what is she supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
She does emote. And it's a big reason why I think she's as over as she is as opposed to everyone else. Because if you look at the roster, both male and female, there's a lot of attractive people on this roster. Why does a Liv Morgan have a spot when someone else doesn't? It's not just because she's attractive. But that is why so many people gleam to her and glom onto her, is because of how attractive she is. Um, and I think that's holding back the storyline because you're asking her to go 14, 15, 16 minutes with Rhea Ripley, who herself is a fantastic wrestler. And it's not believable. One, Liv Morgan's 5 foot nothing. She weighs maybe 100 pounds if she's holding a 5 pound weight, right? She has no athletic bones in her body. She's a great personality, not a great athlete. Rhea Ripley, 6'2", 6'1", 230 pounds of solid jacked muscle. Freak of an athlete. Imposing stature, physical, bruising. And she's struggling with Liv Morgan. It makes no sense. It's hurting the storyline. If Liv was as athletic as someone like a sexy star, right? Someone who could move, had pop, athletic. Okay, that could work. You know, it's why Ray works. It's why Rey Mysterio works. When you have him face off with these giant heaps of human beings, because he's quick, he's fast, he's springy, he can get to you in places you didn't think you could be gotten in. It's also why guys like Marco Stunt doesn't work because he's slow. Just because he's tiny doesn't mean he's fast. He's slow. He's tiny. He's unathletic. He doesn't have any pop or pizzazz. He doesn't have any strength or quickness. So there's no believability in him beating someone like Damian Priest, right? And I feel like that's the equivalent here that we're having with Liv Morgan. She's not Rey Mysterio. She's Marco Stunt. She's Marco Stunt with better makeup and better hair. And
Yeah.
for me, that takes out the entirety of the match being enjoyable.
Yeah. Then I was gonna throw this to you because I know you got several examples of it. All your years watching TNA for longer than me. There's a it's they got Rhea in this thing where she's clearly playing with her food,
Mm-hmm.
but the way that they're doing it is making her look inept instead of just careless.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've seen that before, whether it be in storylines of old in WWE that were actually good or stuff in TNA, where they've had people that have played with their food and their costume, but it wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna tell the referee in the middle of the match, I'm gonna go out here, I'm gonna literally leave the match to go dilly dally, and for whatever reason, I'm guessing she wasn't getting counted out, which made it even stupider.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously, like I said, it ultimately cost her the match, as opposed to like when we used to see. God, I miss him for this. Like all the times Eddie would be like, I can't beat this dude straight up, but I know we're going for the ankle lock, so I'm gonna put on double boots.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff like that. That's not how this is working out. Like I said, now they got Raquel coming in to play the heavy, which plays the Liv's favor because it puts another thing in the front of Rhea that's actually imposing. But yeah, like I said, because they don't really have nothing after this to really be imposing for her, I feel like they milking this for dear God, and they've invested so much in this overall Judgment Day storyline in general. They probably want to get as much mileage out of it as they can. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting because them interjecting that crown jewel situation to me is them having Mania style matchups without actually having them at Mania.
I'll never understand truly what it takes to give up a part of your soul for money. I don't get it. I don't know why the WWE is still doing this deal with the blood money capital of the world. But you know what they say, not my circus, not my monkeys.
Yeah,
So, like, there's
yeah,
that.
certainly a very weird time to be ramping up the narrative with that as well. By the way,
Well, it's WWE, so, like, what are you gonna do?
yeah,
By the by, maybe the best spot of the weekend happened. I forget. I think it was CMLL. Uh, I'm gonna fuck with his name. Hecarero. Hecarero.
yeah,
He's a masked luchador, and I thought he was a face. I thought he was a technico, but he was facing off with someone this weekend, and he's a masked wrestler. And in lucha libre, if your opponent takes off your mask, it's an automatic disqualification unless it's a mask versus hair mask, and even then, I think it's still an automatic disqualification. So the wrestler he was facing apparently was getting the better of him. So Hecarero took off his own mask when the referee wasn't looking and threw it at his opponent to get the
yeah,
win. Fucking brilliant. I retweeted it on my Twitter account at Wrestling Underground. Go check it out. It's
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, that was
Oh, yeah, it's
that
fantastic.
was that was great. That was fantastic. What was not fantastic was having a live band play you out to the ring off key.
Oh, I didn't see that part. Are we talking about the main event?
Yeah, which in hindsight, looking at it, they should have put the damn Hell in the Cell as the main event. I don't know why they didn't.
Did
Well,
did
well, we know why they didn't.
who was down straight? Is that who it is?
No, they had Georgia bands.
Oh,
Um,
they didn't have Georgia Southern's band. Oh
I don't know what specific band it was, but I know a band went viral for playing Cody's theme at either a game or a homecoming. I think probably at a game.
no. Yeah, I
And
think it
then
was a
yeah, that
game.
same band playing. Yeah, had them again because they're going through homecoming now or something to that effect. But yeah, they was off key with it. And then I would imagine they was supposed to stop when his actual music started playing, and they started playing with the music, and it was off key. It was weird. And then Cody came out. And maybe you'd agree with this. The only thing stupider than that tattoo is that mask.
Yeah.
I saw somebody tweet like, I don't know who told Cody this thing is cool, but it's not.
So it was the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff that played
Yeah,
into the ring.
yeah. And then Roman had a little bit of an orchestra who they actually did the job good. But yeah, those entrances alone took up a large amount of time. The match went unnecessarily long, and then um, the man who got a title personally from Muhammad Ali's wife came and got his time. I know I threw that in there for Chad because that always tickles.
He got a title from his wife only because he didn't have one and he thought he would look cool next to Roman holding a belt. What a dweeb. Yeah, so Jimmy Uso returns, helps Roman and Cody win. Then The Rock comes out. Lame. What's really lame, though, and the part that has me just fuming, is that there are people now, whole people, human beings with intelligence, allegedly, who are sitting here saying things like, they've been building this up since, last WrestleMania when The Rock said Solo Sikoa was ready. Now he's saying he's ready again. It's one cinematic story. No, it's not. The Rock is a moron, and he knows 14 words. So of course he said he's ready. Those are two of 14 words he knows. Like, he's going to eventually say the same things over and over again. Have you ever seen his Instagram page where he's tried In-N-Out Burger or Five Guys, whatever it is, for the first time on 5 different occasions? He's not a real person. Like, he's not. I don't know what he is. He's not a real person. Like, I never thought I'd see the day where the Vin Diesel Rock drama would make Vin Diesel look good. Because when all that went down, with the unprofessionalism and all that, I was like, Vin Diesel's a schmuck. Of course, The Rock's the professional one. I owe Vin Diesel an apology. Although I don't owe what's his face? Who else had an issue with the Fast and the Furious cast with The Rock? Tay Diggs.
Yeah, all Tyrese.
Tyrese.
Wrong black guy.
Tyrese. Yeah, sorry. I don't owe Tyrese an apology. Now, normally I would, but Tyrese still owes me for Baby Boy. Until I get my apology, he's never getting one.
Oh man.
Never. Yeah, the main event was whatever. It was fine. It was a SmackDown main event. I love watching the WWE champion or whatever Cody is not defending his title at major events. It's so cool. And then he doesn't defend it on television. It's so cool. And then somebody's like, well, the reason why they only do 5 matches is because that's what the UFC does. That's what TKO does. And I'm like, 1, that's not accurate. 2, you're fucking wrong. And 3, you're stupid and lying. The UFC has 5 main card shows, matches. They have 5 main card matches for their pay-per-views. They also have 5 or 6 mid-tiered matches, usually on some type of ESPN or what have you. And then they have 3 opening matches that you can watch for free on social media. So they give you 13 fights in a night. You just have to watch them in different places because fucking UFC. They've been doing this well before TKO came on board. And they've been doing it so long that they know that they have to do it this way, otherwise they wouldn't have enough time to have all the fights they want to have. Because there's a good chance that a fight could go 30 minutes. You got to make sure you allocate the time. That's why you get a lot of commercials, a lot of filler, because you can't control how long a fight goes. It could go 5 seconds, it could go 5 rounds. In pro wrestling, you can, in fact, control how long something goes, and you can prepare for it. So, it's not the same. It's not the same. As far as the best match on the card, CM Punk Drew McIntyre, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was the best Hell in a Cell match ever, like some people were saying, and I didn't even think it was the best Hell in a Cell match that CM Punk has ever been in. So,
Yeah, it would have needed to be done. The interesting thing, yeah, they did exactly what they needed to do with that as the blow off. Hopefully, that is the true blow off. Because with Rollins back, there's even more animus on the table for CM Punk to garner a lot of matches with when it comes to him. But the Cody thing. I want to get your take on this. I know we got to move on, but like, what do you think he is right now in terms of his reign? Because I've a wonderful, great champion. Because you want a guy that's gonna put butts in seats and do good business. He certainly puts butts in seats, and we know the incredible needles he's moving with the merch. But in terms of his actual on-screen character and this whole thing with the bloodline, and him supposed to be going through all that to top of the bloodline and being done with the bloodline, but he keeps doing this thing where he keeps having to put himself in a line of fire where the arrows ain't being aimed at him.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason. There was no reason for him to interject himself into this bloodline civil war where it's at right now. All guns were pointed at Roman, and he just had to jump back in it because he needs to remind everybody he's supposed to be the big kahuna because Reigns came out there and said even though he's not the champion, it's still his yard. He's still the tribal chief. And it's like we kind of like I don't need to hear Kevin Owens gripe with Cody to know why he beat him up. I want to beat him up. He's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
He's just coming off dumb. Great champion, but you giving yourself unnecessary hassles, and it's between that and hand picking your opponents is like this is not good. Maybe I'm in the minority on that.
I don't think you are. I think to look at Cody and question, hey, is he having a good run? There's two answers. You can say, well, what defines a good run? On one hand, you have, is he compelling? No. On the other hand, you have, is he selling? Yes. Cody is both vastly overrated and vastly misused at the same time. He's stuck in the void that is the bloodline, right? It doesn't seem what we do with him. It doesn't seem what happens. So one way or another, he's always going to be stuck in this Roman Reigns gravity field, right? Doesn't matter what happens for 2 years. Anything relevant that he's done has involved Roman and nothing else. No one else. And it feels like he's a bit part in Roman's story. Instead of having a Cody story and a Roman story going on simultaneously away from one another. I don't know why they feel that Cody can't carry a program without Roman involved. But the only time he seems to have any type of legitimacy, at least in the eyes of the writing community, is when they in fact have him working alongside Roman. Like the style stuff, like was good, but it certainly wasn't impressive. Not for two wrestlers of their caliber. And like outside of that, like what has Cody done? Who has he wrestled? Like I don't think anyone important. Like, I don't even remember who he faced at SummerSlam.
It was
Oh,
on.
it was Solo.
Yeah,
Okay.
Solo, and then he handpicked Owens and kind of made him, kept goading him into doing it.
Did he even wrestle at Money in the Bank? He did in a 6-man tag with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton against the Bloodline. And I think at Clash of the Castle he wrestled who? AJ? AJ. So
Yeah.
if it hasn't been AJ, it's been the Bloodline. And now Kevin Owens. And it's just like, who cares? I don't. Other people seem to. And that's cool. But here's the problem. I feel like this is... They're going on a road trip, right? With a car. And they haven't checked to see if that car has a lot of gas in it. And eventually this really cool, real popular, real nice car is going to run out of gas. And when it does, everyone involved in this road trip is going to go home. And unfortunately for the WWE and its fan base, the product is the car. The creativity and thought behind their stories is the gas. And eventually these weak stories are going to be exposed for being weak, and hindsight's going to be very cruel to this era of WWE Because we're going to sit here and say, just like the Attitude Era, very popular era, very financially profitable era, very impossible to rewatch era. I don't watch anything from the Attitude Era because it's terrible. It isn't even a subjective opinion. It is objectively bad to watch. The matches were bad, the storylines were offensive, and the general vibe of the show was just a bully fest. It wasn't good. It was written by psychopaths, and it shows. And I feel like this era of WWE may not be too dissimilar. So, Bad Blood was what it was. And the WWE product is what it is, and it'll continue to be what it is because that's just what it is. Speaking of what it is, apparently Billy Boy Goldberg is probably getting back in the ring soon to face off with Gunther at what is it, Blood Money in Saudi Arabia. Crown Jewel, that's what it is.
Yeah.
There it is. I knew I'd remember it eventually. So he's going to be facing off with probably Gunther at Crown Jewel. Marcus, you're not a big Goldberg fan. I am. I'll watch just about anything Goldberg does. I don't know if I'll watch this, but I might. Because it's Gunther and Goldberg. I feel like they're going to beat the shit out of each other. That being said, Goldberg's like 58. Right? He's no spring chicken.
Yeah.
Is there any interest in this one for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, Gunther's on the other side of him, so he certainly has quality there. But that's my worry about this whole thing. And I like Goldberg. I think my favorite version of him, shamelessly, was his mid 2000s WWE run.
Okay.
Of course, I never watched WCW, so I didn't get to have that vantage point. But yeah, when he returned initially in the later 2000s, obviously when he was much older, he had his moments, but I feel like there was an instance where it could have leveled out, um, and kind of maintained at a certain point, but I feel like it kind of kept getting progressively worse, either because he kept blowing himself up or getting concussed mid match, or just getting in the matchups that didn't really suit him, or getting put in the storylines he shouldn't have been in. And I think we both agree like the best match he had of recent memory was that short and sweet match he had with Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the last time they met. So to me, I'd just be worried about quality of match with him, because Gunther is somebody he's the ultimate test. He's gonna go. He's got moves and toughness for days, and he got the stamina to go for as long as you need him to. Goldberg, not so much. You kind of got to cater what you're gonna do around the stage he's at now. Like you said, he's almost 60. He's always been in some form of shape, but being in shape and then being in ring shape has never been the same thing.
No.
So I don't mind it happening, and obviously he's gonna want to do it at Crown Jewel, because I would imagine that garners the biggest payday.
Mm-hmm.
With the level he's at, you want to get as much as you can for as much as you can do at this stage. So I get that, but don't just be worried about quality of match, because I don't want him to get hurt in any way, but I also don't want the match to be hurt, because that also makes Gunther look bad.
So the last time Goldberg wrestled was at Elimination Chamber in 2022, and that was in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. So it's been nearly 2 years. It's been over 2 years. It's been nearly 3 years since he last wrestled. And he's only gotten older. He's only gotten slower. I love Goldberg. So many of his best matches, man. Just fantastic. But he's 57. He'll be 58 in December. You had said off the air he should turn it over to Gage. And listen, that's not the worst idea I ever heard. Gage is a Division I caliber athlete at Colorado. There is certainly less brain damage to be had in pro wrestling as opposed to pro football. Wouldn't be the worst idea in the world. he could join up with Scott's kids, Scott Steiner's kids, because he's got one kid in Indiana, another kid on his way to Division I football. So like, is he? Is it Indiana? No, I think he's got one kid at like a Division II school. I was thinking of Shane McMahon's kid. Sorry, Shane McMahon's kid is at Indiana, but Scott Steiner's got two Division II school kids playing football. Goldberg's got a Division I kid. Just bring them in, make them a trio, and have some wild fun with it. I think that would work. I think that'd be fantastic. But yeah, what do I know? Moving on. We had a pretty big GLEAT show this weekend. Ricochet and El Hijo del Vikingo were on the show, but I think also the Rascals were on, right?
Mm-hmm.
You cover GLEATs, so
Yeah.
I think if anyone has anything to talk about with their show, it's you. So what do you think of the recent GLEAT outing?
Love it, man. I've been, been able to with covering it for the True Penny show, man. It's been cool to see GLEAT slowly but surely grow at a consistent pace. And one of the best markers about the promotion is their ability to bring in names like a Van Kingo or Ricochet. They've had Minoru Suzuki, Kota Ibushi. Now you're seeing these names, and they brought the Rascals in, and it looks like it paid off. Like two more TNA's finest right now, or look like they walked away with some gold. We'll probably be covering these shows specifically in the coming week or so. So looking forward to that. But it's just cool. Like I said, just it's a real hot time right now in wrestling as we're witnessing. And one of the coolest parts of it is seeing all this collaboration across the industry, whether it be in the States and certainly abroad. So the fact that they was able to go over to Japan and do this, and we saw what greatness it kind of did for ABC when they got a chance to go to New Japan. That's really where they thrived with that tag team. So came back over in the States and killed it. But yeah, uh, you get those four names on the same card. I mean, that tells you a lot about what that promotion is doing, and just what it looks like when you can, not everybody's locked into like these unnecessary contracts where they can't have this maneuverability. This ultimately breeds competition across all areas and gives us matches we wouldn't normally get. And just it does good for everybody because people that know these individuals from other places wouldn't know them unless they got them chance to see them. So it's I just think it's a win-win all around.
I also saw that Parker Bordeaux was on this card as well. I'm going to check that out because I want to see if he's gotten any better. That being said, apparently the Ricochet El Hijo del Vikingo tag team match, they were on opposite sides, wasn't even the main event. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's it. But if anybody got a chance to see some clips from it, I think some of them still probably floating around on Twitter. That 630 has a type of degree of difficulty I can't even imagine, even though I've seen it a bunch of times. But I don't know if I've seen it hit more perfectly than the one Ricochet hit in that match.
Yeah, I saw that GIF and it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, yeah, maybe in Lucha Underground, but it's been so long since we watched that. But yeah, you don't hit a more perfect version of that move than he did on Van Kingo. And Van Kingo is a a caliber Ricochet in Mexico in his own right. So that tells you the kind of spectacle that probably was.
So that's let's talk about our last story of the day. News came out this week that Keith Lee, not the food reviewer, but the pro wrestler, has missed a tremendous amount of time. He hasn't wrestled all year. He's been out for well over 8 months. And a lot of us have wondered why. I think Tony Khan or somebody in AEW revealed that it's because Keith Lee is still dealing with a major physical situation that's keeping him out of the ring. We don't know if it's an injury, an illness, or something else. But that reason right there is why Keith Lee's not been back in the ring. Do we think, or do you think that we'll see him back soon? I mean, we don't have anything to go off that. Um, I think the real question I should ask is, do you think AEW is missing out with Keith Lee being on the shelves?
Nah, I don't think they're missing out. I mean, they benefited from having so much talent that um I mean the crazy thing is they have names like a Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, and a few others, but because they have stacked their roster in such a way, they haven't necessarily been missed. I can't, I don't. I mean, I didn't want Warlow when we was getting him. He had his moments. I never, not in some form or fashion root for somebody when they're beating up um, MJF, but that's in small bursts. And that's probably when he was at his hottest when he initially turned on MJF. As far as Powerhouse Hives, he was potentially building some momentum, but it felt like they never really consistently known what to do with him. Um, and Keith Lee, he could have been something big, but like I said, he got taken off the shelves, and we don't know if it's something specifically long term in the medical situation or other factors are going on, whether it be compiled or individual. So I kind of feel like now, while he's not creating a big chasm on the show, because like I said, they fill in so many gaps with so much other talent, regardless of whether it's storylines we actually want or otherwise. Um, at this point with it, I'm kind of in the same space I am with Big E, where I just want him to be healthy,
Mm-hmm.
whether he comes back or not. So, because he's been out for so long, it's like it got to be something serious to keep him out as long as he's been out. So,
I think there's. You're right. When we talk about we just want these guys to be healthy, I think that's fair for the most part. There are some days where I'm like, so and so could break their leg. I'd be fine with that, and I mean that. I'm fine with that. Get them off my television screen by any way, shape, or form. Right. That being said, oof, I just watched Hologram try to hurricane around someone off the top rope and then get caught into a power bomb. Now, was it a mistake? Maybe, but it looked good, so we'll see. Uh, with Keith Lee, I feel like he's like the epitome of one-like-itis. I don't see the appeal of him as a personality. As a wrestler, sure, he's fantastic. But as a personality, I don't see it. I think part of the issue is that he's never really had a gimmick. And I know some people are like, well, he doesn't need a gimmick. Every wrestler needs a gimmick. Everyone does. And controversial take, Marcus. I didn't think the Bearcat gimmick was a bad idea. It gave him
mm,
something that made him stand out. And sometimes people forget that you need that. Like, you can be like, no, he can just be himself. No, that's your indie underground mentality. Like, oh, I liked so and so before they were popular. Cool. You liked so and so before they made money. You liked so and so before they could draw an audience. You liked so and so when they were playing 400 fans. Cool. You liked them when they were poor. No, I get that. No, that's fair. And like, listen, cool. That's cool. You don't need someone to be popular to like them. That's cool. That's cool. This is a money making business. Making money at the end of the day is the only reason you're in this game. You want to be good, you want to be popular, you want to put on good matches, but you want to make money. I don't think you can make money with Keith Lee. Not right now. I think you can put him in a Booker T, Chris Benoit, WCW 1998 role. Have him go out there and wrestle TV title matches until the cows come out. I think you got something there. But he's the Genetti of Swerve and Keith Lee. He doesn't have the upside to be a star. He's too bland. He moves and wrestles like Vader without the fear of busting someone's ear off or having your eye popped out, right? But he doesn't have the intensity or the aura of Vader. And I feel like when you're trying to promote a big guy, you need him to have a personality, an aura, a gimmick, a look. Just being a big dude in trunks isn't it's not a gimmick. It's not a look. It's why he only ever appeals to a small sect of the fan base because he can't find that extra gear. And I feel like that's going to hold him back. So like I don't feel like AEW's missing him. As far as a draw goes, I feel like they're missing him as a hand, but they have so many good wrestlers. Like, are they really? And that's kind of just my take on it. So I don't know.
Yeah, it sucks to that point. Was there ever a time when you, I guess, if you ever caught anything that he did in NXT or when he got on the main roster? Because I think his biggest memorable moment on the main roster was probably when he had that instance of what it was, the Rumble with Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there any part of that where you feel like, okay, if they take the momentum properly off this and propel him in the right ways, that he could have been something?
Yeah, absolutely. He had a strong fan base behind him when he was in NXT. And I don't think anyone should even try to deny that. The problem is like he had the fan base in part because people wanted to see him against Brock. That was a predominant driving force for his popularity.
Yeah,
Without that popularity, without that goal for him, what was left? And I feel like that's kind of the issue. It's like people get all gung ho for these wrestlers who have this one note persona, this one thing. Like, oh, I can't wait for them to face off with so and so. And then after that, what do you got? And it used to be a very big problem in the WWE. Like once King Kong Bundy built up, faced Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 2. Then what? The Mountie was and Nails. They were brought in to feud with Big Boss Man. After they feuded with him, then what? There becomes this thing where the Patriot with Bret Hart, where these guys get brought in with the sole idea of being built up to face off with so and so. But then once that moment happens, if that moment happens, then you don't have anything left to do with them. And I feel like had Keith Lee gotten Brock Lesnar, it would have been the same case. Because look what happened to Dean Ambrose. After he faced off with Brock Lesnar, I think he went straight back into the Shield. I'm pretty sure the Shield reunion came after his match with Brock. And it's because, quite honestly, there was nothing else for him to do. So, I don't know. I don't know how you get Keith Lee over as an actual star. Not as someone that people like. People like him. He's very likable. But as someone who can draw money out of people's pockets who weren't fans of Keith Lee in Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? I don't know how you get him to that level. So
yeah. Like I said, he's only getting older. To the point where it's like, and I don't know how long he had been dyeing his hair, but that's I had that was gonna take some getting used to when he came on TV with the all gray. But yeah, we just you wish him well, and then that, like I said, AEW got a good problem in that they got such a stacked roster that names like Hobbs and Lee, guys like Wardlow, some of their bigger, more aggressive characters aren't necessarily missing. But
mm-hmm.
that's also that's a good problem for the company and a bad problem for the guys. Because you hope it's not a thing where they're gonna, they're trying to take care of him until he actually does get healthy, and then it's like, do they cut bait? Because you don't want another health scare, and then he's just home collecting the paycheck and not necessarily working in the way they need him to. So you hope that's not the issue. And who knows? Maybe it's something to happen. He'll migrate back to WWE and he'll actually do something. Who knows? But like you said, he's getting older. We don't know exactly the extent of whatever this potential health thing could be. So yeah, it's just you just gotta hope for the best.
Said it perfectly. Nothing else to say on that one. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we head off?
Uh, yeah, damn, I don't even think we touched on this, but yeah, just the whole thing about with HHH going back to Bad Blood for a minute, not seeing
Oh
color
yeah.
and that whole thing and that big conversation. It's just interesting because we you tweet about it all the time. I see it all the time. We tweet about it. It's for somebody that came up in a time in wrestling where he's seen so many eras and likely participated in a lot of the effery that went on under Vince. You would think a guy like Triple H would be kind of wise to the situation, but sometimes, you know, some people are just stuck in their ways and whatnot. But it's just interesting seeing what he had to say to that question presented to him in Bad Blood in terms of he doesn't see color, and then contrasting that against, I think it was some form of interview that Cody had either backstage at an AEW show when he kind of brought up the fact, and this was kind of insightful of him to kind of bring this up when he talked about, like, he said the similar thing to his wife, Brandy Rose, who was black, and he was like, "You don't see color," and she replied to him, "Well, you don't see my experience." Um, and you kind of take that in for a minute, you kind of realize that that's somebody who, like Triple H, who kind of is over such a vast and eclectic roster. You think we're trying to take the time to realize that seeing somebody experiences isn't just acknowledging, you know, uh, them doing Black History Month or Latino Heritage Month or whatever have you. It's actually seeing the journey that they've had in the industry that had been predominantly run by males and primarily white men who really didn't have any goodwill or probably have the time good notions towards individuals of color in that regard, and he probably likely participated in some of that. I mean, hell, we've seen it on camera. He participated in it. So um, he's good at this media stuff, which is I guess is half the point of his position. But that was another instance where, uh, and I think he kind of did the same thing not too long ago on event stuff, which we get, but he could have gave a far better answer here, and maybe it's just because he can't, because that particular level of insightfulness is just not in his wheelhouse.
I think if it was someone else, the conversation would be different. Sure, I think a lot of people would be disagreeing with him. But it would be like, well, he's got to learn, or, his opinions clearly aren't, the best. There'd be some discourse around comments like that. And maybe even some more people agreeing with him and defending him. But this is someone with a lot of racial abuse to his name. Like, we can sit here and talk about the blackface when he dressed up as The Rock during the Nation of Domination stuff in 1998. That's not even the worst of it, though. His comments to Booker T in '03 when he's like, "People like you, they don't beat people like me." And, like, if he had gone out there, did the JOB and the PPV for the 1, 2, 3, okay, great angle. Triple H was being vaguely racist. And then gets beat by the black dude. Hey, hurrah. But he beat Booker T in such a decisive way that Booker's main event run ended that night. He pedigreed him. Took about 15 seconds, then covered him, and then got the win. So, like, he overprotected his finisher for what reason, right? Then we had the story come out of, what's his name, Ricardo Rodriguez, I think is his name. Let's see, I want to get this right.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Alberto's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ricardo Rodriguez was Alberto Del Rio's personal ring announcer. And he's made several claims about Triple H that involved him being called derogatory terms. One was that he called him the Bumblebee from The Simpsons. There's a Hispanic character who dresses up like a bumblebee, and apparently Ricardo Rodriguez called him that a lot. So we have him, being pretty overtly racist towards Ricardo Rodriguez, and this is 10 years ago. He was in his 40s doing this. It's hard to say that Triple H has grown up. It's hard to say that Triple H has sympathy or respect for people who are different than him. He clearly doesn't. And when you read some of the stuff that people have gone through, especially at the hands of Triple H, it boggles the mind that he's still in power. Let alone that he's sitting here in front of, a couple dozen people in attendance and thousands, if not millions, watching at home, lying through his mouth and trying to be disingenuous with his views on things. We know he doesn't like black wrestlers. Since he's taken over, we haven't had a single black wrestler win on pay-per-view, a single black male wrestler win on pay-per-view since what, SummerSlam 2023? He's reduced the size of the card so he doesn't have to book single black wrestlers. Single black male wrestlers, I should say. He clearly has something against them. Otherwise, why wouldn't he have them in more prominent positions? Why wouldn't he try to re-sign Bobby Lashley? Why wouldn't he do X amount of other things? He clearly has issues. Now, what those issues are they racist? I can't say for sure. But I will say that anyone sitting at home can point and look and say Triple H clearly has issues with a certain group of people. And what those issues are, don't know. But they would need to be addressed, I would assume. Apparently, he was called Bumblebee Man. Or Bumblebee. That was his name.
Yeah, it's like I said, you've always brought up anything came over Triple H in terms of looking at his character and history of past actions versus what it's being touted that he's doing in such high fashion now. Like just the concept of look at China. Everything that happened with that and the fact that for whatever reason they still, I guess, refuse to give her solo induction into the Hall of Fame with everything that she did just on her own, just existing in the way that she did and the time that she did. So, for whatever final reason, there's still a hang up on that. But just what transpired between them personally doesn't exactly point to somebody of high character in that regard. So.
He's truly a despicable person. I do wonder if this Vince McMahon investigation will lead to more people being outed and removed. I think it should be interesting to see how all that plan plays out.
Yeah, apparently, Johnny Ace never got mentioned, or if they did, it was very briefly on that documentary. So, and we know that he's involved some kind of way. So,
I would be shocked if there wasn't more people involved. So, we'll see what happens with that. As far as tonight's show, I do believe we have come to a good stopping point. We'll talk more about Triple H and his nonsense next week. But you can find us at the website at realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCORP.com. We're on Twitter at NERDCORP. Marcus, you can be found on Twitter at ParadoxKid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, where they're going to be talking about this week's episode of GLEAT over at over at True Penny Show on Twitter, TRUEPENYSHOW. Go check them out there. They'll be talking more about GLEAT and Ricochet and El Hijo del Vikingo and all of that. Including the Rascals, TNA's very own, who are now GLEAT Tag Team Champions, which isn't the actual name of the tag titles. I think it's like Super Team or something like that.
Yeah, G Infinity. Yeah.
G Infinity. I knew it was something like outlandish. So go check that out. They're going to talk about that later this week. The website is realnerdcorp.com. Twitter account is Wrestling Underground. We also have Twitch and YouTube also at Wrestling Underground. You can find us at my personals at Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad Sweato at CHEDSPHRTOHUT, that's CHADSPHRTOHUT. Be sure to check us out there. On all of our other personals, we'll be back next Tuesday around the same time for another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast, live on twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for giving us a chance. Thanks for... I fucked up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And as always, Marcus, take us home.